Michael was known throughout the small rural village not because he was rich or wise, but because he was restless, constantly chasing something he could never quite name. He hated slow routines, hated waiting, hated anything that required patience and discipline. Ever since childhood, he heard his father say that hard work builds character, but Michael believed hard work was a punishment disguised as wisdom. He wanted a different life, one where money came fast, recognition came easy. Success arrived without struggle. That afternoon as he walked home, along the dusty road under the burning sun, he muttered complaints about everything: his job, his pay, his village, even the people around him. Then a rough old voice called out to him, asking for a minute. On the side of the road sat an old traveler with worn clothes, torn boots, and a crooked hat, but eyes so calm and deep they seemed out of place. Michael stopped, partly out of politeness, partly out of curiosity. The old man pointed ahead, with his wooden staff showing two paths, one short, straight, and clearly traveled, and the other long, rocky, and nearly abandoned. Every man faces two paths in life, the traveler said, the easy one and the right one. Michael laughed, saying he would choose the easy one because no one wants to suffer. The old man didn't laugh. The easy path charges a heavy price. The right one pays well. Something in his voice made Michael listen, even when he didn't want to. The old man continued with a story about two brothers who grew up in that very village. They had the same childhood, the same chances, the same dreams, yet their lives became opposites because of one simple difference: the path they chose. The first brother chose the easy path, lying when needed, cutting corners, whenever possible, stepping over others when it benefited him. For a while, it looked like he was winning, earning money, quickly receiving praise from outsiders looking successful from a distance. But lies are sand, not stone, and everything he built collapsed, leaving him alone and empty. The second brother chose the right path, the slow, hard, unglamorous one. He worked when others rested, saved when others wasted, gave help when others mocked, and walked forward, step by step, even when no one noticed. He didn't grow fast, but he grew strong. When life tested him, his foundation held, and in the end he prospered, not only with money, but with peace. Peace, the old man said softly, is something no shortcut can ever buy. Michael felt a strange heaviness inside him, as if the words carried a weight he wasn't prepared for. He looked at the crossroads again, noticing details he hadn't before. The dust, the shadows, the silence. Before Michael could speak, the old man tapped his staff once on the ground and said, "The path you choose next will shape the man you become." Then he simply waited, looking at Michael with those deep, quiet eyes that seemed to see more than they should. But Michael didn't answer. He turned away, pretending not to care, yet every step he took toward home felt heavier than the last. He tried to shake the conversation out of his mind, but it clung to him like dust on his skin. That night, he could not sleep, replaying the traveler's words, especially the last one echoing through his thoughts like a quiet warning. The easy path charges a heavy price, and though he didn't know it yet, those words would follow him long after the old man disappeared. Michael tried to forget the old man's words, but they stayed with him like a shadow he couldn't shake. He continued chasing shortcuts, believing deep down that results mattered more than the path taken. Over the next weeks, he made choices that felt clever in the moment, but foolish in hindsight. He rushed through his work, ignored details, took credit for what wasn't his, and made promises he didn't intend to keep. And for a short time, it looked like he was getting ahead. People praised him for finishing tasks quickly, and some even envied the speed at which he seemed to grow. Michael convinced himself that he was proving the old man wrong, proving that the easy path wasn't dangerous, but efficient. Yet, beneath the appearance of success, something unstable was forming. His work wasn't solid, his relationships weren't real, and his reputation wasn't built on truth. He ignored the signs, believing that as long as he moved fast, nothing could catch him. Everything fell apart one afternoon when a project he rushed through collapsed, quite literally. A wall he built without proper support gave way, injuring a co-worker and damaging expensive materials. There was no excuse fast enough to save him. His employer fired him on the spot, furious and disappointed. People who once praised him now whispered behind his back, saying they always suspected he cut corners. Every shortcut he had taken returned to him like a debt collecting its payment. The shame was crushing. For days, Michael wandered the village without purpose, avoiding eye contact and avoiding work. At the edge of the fields, he sat, watching farmers who seemed to move slowly but with a steadiness that puzzled him. They planted carefully, watered consistently, and waited patiently. They didn't rush, didn't brag, didn't chase shortcuts. And yet, season after season, they produced good harvests. Michael found himself wondering why their slow work looked so strong while his fast work kept crumbling. The truth echoed inside him like a quiet ache. He wanted results without roots, and anything without roots falls. One evening he walked again to the crossroads where he had met the traveler. The sky was orange with a setting sun, and the air felt heavy with meaning. He stood before the two paths and felt torn in a way he had never felt before. The short path still tempted him, easy, comfortable, familiar, offering quick gains and effortless steps. The long path still looked miserable, rocky, steep, and lonely. Michael sighed, telling himself that the old man exaggerated the danger of shortcuts, but a whisper inside him rose gently, almost painfully the next. Step you take decides who you will become. He looked around, even hoping to see the old man again, but the road was empty. He closed his eyes and admitted something for the first time in his life. My shortcuts cost more than they give. When he opened his eyes, his feet moved on their own, stepping away from the short path and onto the long one. It felt unnatural, uncomfortable, slow, but also real, honest, grounded. Michael didn't know it yet, but that single step was the moment his life quietly shifted towards something deeper. Michael woke the next morning with a strange tension inside him, the kind that comes when you choose something difficult and your mind starts doubting whether it was the right decision. The long path he had stepped onto was not an actual road, but a way of living, a way of doing things slowly, correctly. Honestly, the opposite of everything he was used to. He began taking small jobs that required patience, repairing fences, cleaning tools, helping farmers with heavy tasks. The work was exhausting and paid very little, but for the first time he finished tasks without feeling like he had cheated his way through. Still, the temptation of the old life hovered over him, especially when he saw others getting ahead quickly, using the same shortcuts he once did. Some earned fast money and bragged loudly about it. Others made easy deals that promised quick profit. The old Michael would have joined them without a second thought, but something inside him stopped him again and again, like an invisible hand pulling him back, whispering that the easy path was not forbidden for no reason. Even so, doubt was always present. One night as he sat by a small fire outside his home, he wondered if the old man had tricked him, if choosing the harder way was only making him poorer, slower, and more tired. For a moment, he felt bitterness rise, but then he remembered the collapse, the shame, the fear, the emptiness. Those memories held him together, kept him from running back to the easy road. As days passed, he began noticing things he never paid attention to before. The farmers who woke before sunrise never complained, because their effort had meaning. The carpenter who worked slowly created pieces strong enough to last generations. The blacksmith who hammered metal with patience, formed tools farmers trusted with their harvests. None of them moved fast, but all of them moved forward. One afternoon, an older farmer named Samuel invited Michael to help build a shelter for livestock before a storm. The job was tedious, lifting heavy wood, measuring, carefully securing beams one by one. Michael wanted to rush, but every time he tried, Samuel stopped him, placing a heavy hand on his shoulder, saying, slowly, precision, "Michael, not speed." When the storm arrived that night, the shelter stood firm enough to protect every animal. Michael realized that if he had built it alone, in his old way, it would have collapsed, and the loss would have been catastrophic. That night he felt something strange, pride. Not the fragile pride that comes from being praised, but the deep one. Pride that comes from knowing you did something right, even if no one sees it. The next morning he returned to the crossroads again, almost without thinking. The long path seemed less frightening now, not because it had changed, but because Michael had. As he stood there, the wind felt calm instead of harsh. The silence felt peaceful instead of empty. And for the first time, he felt like he belonged somewhere. Yet something was missing. He felt a growing need to understand more about the old traveler who had pushed him toward this transformation. Who was he? Where did he come from? Why did he speak as if he knew Michael's future before Michael himself knew it? The questions lingered like smoke in the air. As Michael turned to head home, he saw something that made him stop completely. A footprint in the dust. An old deep boot marked the same shape, the same angle he remembered seeing the day he met the traveler. His heart pounded. He followed the footprints slowly, carefully. But after a few steps, they simply disappeared, as if the man had vanished into the wind. Michael stood there, stunned, a shiver running down his spine. He did not know what the old man truly was, but for the first time in his life, he felt guided, not forced, not pushed, guided. And that feeling alone was enough to keep him walking the long path with new determination. Michael woke before sunrise one morning, feeling a calmness he had never known. The long path he once feared no longer looked like punishment but purpose. He worked each day with steadier hands and a clearer mind. People began noticing the change in him, the way he approached tasks with care, the way his attitude softened away. He listened more and spoke less. The same villagers who once whispered about his mistakes now greeted him with respect. Even children waved at him with curiosity, because his presence no longer felt restless or impatient, but grounded. One afternoon, a major project arose, a bridge that needed rebuilding after years of neglect. Several men were called to help, and Michael joined them. The work was heavy, slow, and demanding. Younger workers rushed through tasks, but Michael did not. He measured twice, cut once, checked every beam before lifting it, and secured every support with precision. Some mocked him for moving too slowly, but when the first storm of the season struck, it was Michael's section of the bridge that held firm while the rushed sections cracked under pressure. The villagers saw this clearly, and from that day forward, Michael became the person everyone trusted when something needed to be built correctly. He did not boast, he did not brag, he simply worked quietly, grateful for the man he was becoming. Over time, Michael earned more steady work and genuine respect. His reputation changed, not because he tried to impress anyone, but because he became consistent, reliable, and honest. And with that change came an unexpected peace inside him, the emptiness he had carried. For years, the restlessness, the urge to chase, shortcuts all began to disappear. He felt anchored for the first time. One evening, as he finished repairing a fence, he passed the crossroads again. The sunset painted the horizon in orange and gold, just like the day he had first met the old traveler. He stopped and stared at the paths, remembering every word, every warning, every lesson. A soft breeze brushed the tall grass, and something warm stirred inside his chest. Almost without meaning to, he whispered, "Thank you, whoever you were." It no longer mattered whether the old man had been a traveling angel or simply a stranger with wisdom. What mattered was that he had appeared at the exact moment Michael needed him. That single encounter had changed the entire direction of his life, and now Michael finally understood the truth the old man had tried to teach him before he was ready to hear it. The easy path charges a heavy price. The right path pays well. Michael walked home that night with a peaceful smile. He no longer envied fast success or loud recognition. He valued quiet victories, honest work, and slow, steady growth that lasted. When he reached his doorstep, he paused, looking up at the first stars beginning to appear. He felt grateful. Grateful for the fall that taught him humility. Grateful for the struggle that taught him strength. Grateful for the long path that taught him who he was meant to be. And with that gratitude came a desire to share his story, not to boast, but to help others who might be standing at their own crossroads, unsure which path to choose. Life is full of choices, Michael thought, but the right one is rarely the easiest. It is the one that shapes you. It is the one that lasts. And if you made it till the end, if you believe that choices shape destinies, and that stories can change lives, subscribe to the channel. Comment what you thought of this story, and follow for more stories like this, because sometimes all we need is one good story to choose the right path to.